Welcome back, Stoner Squad, and of course a big welcome to all those new to the channel. My name is DanIsStoned. Thank you for joining me to continue our tutorial campaign as Crete, the mini-series where I shall be doing a small campaign forming Crete and explaining everything I'm going to be doing as I go along to try and make it easier for you new beginners of the game. Hopefully the info you will find here is going to help you out in some shape or form. I try to explain everything as thoroughly as I can and as clearly as I can. Again, it is not scripted, so I'm basically talking off the top of my head, so if anything's not clear, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Just say what's not clear and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you also wanted to, you could also join the Discord server if you have any kind of questions to ask. It may be a bit easier for me to see them on there, so the Discord link will be in the description below. If you join the Discord, there is a section called Ask a Stoner. Just put your question in there about the game, and either me or one of the other Stoner Squad members of the Discord, who, if they know the answer to the question, will help you out. But anyway, we're going to continue where we left off. So we managed to grow on the western side of Crete. As you can see now, we've got a fair bit of extra land. And now it's basically two powers vying for control of Crete. Gortina, who are currently at war with Sparta and Arcades, so here, they're probably going to win this though fairly easily, and us. So we need to try and grow as much as we can so we can beat this guy. He is going to take this here, and he's also going to occupy this. I don't know if they're cities or not. They may not be. No, they're both settlements, I think, which is quite good. That's actually really, really good. So this means that we could potentially probably try to conquer something that he's not going to go for yet. And Praesos, our former ally, is a good thing to do. He is not allied with anybody. We have a navy, which means I can ferry my levies over there and easily occupy the guy. So I think that is going to be a good option. Again, when you're declaring war, right-click on the nation, have a look at their alliances, see who they're allied to. If he has too many alliances, try and find a back door. Try and find someone who he is allied to, who brings in less allies when you declare war, and try bringing them in that way. You know, always kind of explore your options and have a look what's going on. There's no worse thing than declaring war just like that without checking the other avenues to actually bring the guy into the war. You don't necessarily always have to declare on the person you want to occupy. You can always declare it on someone else, and he brings him through a series of alliances. So do kind of check this all out. But anyway, let's keep rolling. So, if you remember, so we now have more levies. I can show you. So if we go to the levy section here, you can see we have now 6 archers and 1 heavy infantry. Again, for those who don't know, this is because we've increased the number of integrated pops. So if we go to the culture here, and you can see the integrated pops, we have 37 of them. Of course, the more the integrated pops we have, the more levies we can raise. Again, you can only raise levies from integrated culture pops. Now, the good thing here is this is all Cretan, so they're all going to be integrated when we occupy them, which is a fairly good thing. Now, this does give me an opportunity to quickly talk about culture in a little bit more detail on how to know when to integrate, I suppose. So, what I tend to do when I integrate pops, I tend to kind of go on the amount of pops that there are. Generally speaking, that's how I do it. So the more pops of a certain culture I have in my realm, then the more I'm inclined to integrate them, because of course then the more levies I would get out of them. And also integrated pops also let you fill up your legions, which is really useful. We can't do it at the moment because we don't have the required law, or we are not the size to actually pass the law to make our said legions. But integrated culture pops as well are used to create your legions. When you do kind of create legions and you kind of model them the way you want, you are pulling pops out of the levies of the said region. So do remember that when you are making them. So I do tend to integrate depending on the pop size. Also depends on their culture. Now, if I mean, at the start, if I'm quite small, I do tend to integrate as many as I can, just to get the extra levies. Now, bear in mind, when you do integrate, the other cultures do lose like overall happiness. So for each integrated culture, I think you lose, I don't know how much it is, let's quickly see this. Yeah, for each integrated culture, it gets your culture happiness down by 4%. So basically, if I were to integrate this Carian pop here, I would lose 4% culture happiness for the Cretan pops, because I would integrate this. Again, I'm not doing it because there's only 1 pop, and it's really not worth it. So when you're small, just kind of try and integrate as many as you can, but again, just kind of look who has the most pops in your realm, which culture has the most, and then integrate them in for the extra levies. As you get bigger, you probably don't want to integrate the pops that are of your culture group. Why? Because pops of your culture group are incredibly easier to assimilate to your primary culture. So basically, for example, I'm Crete. Let's say as Crete now, I occupy all of Greece here, and we own every single kind of Hellenic culture group pop is in our realm. And let's say we're expanding over to the Phrygian section here, and we occupy every single territory with this big swab of Phrygian pops. What I would do, I would tend to try to integrate the Phrygian pops, just because since they're not of our culture group, they're going to have a serious, massive hit to their pop happiness, and of course, pop happiness is directly tied to Unrest, and Unrest is directly tied to province loyalty. I'll talk about that in a little while. Why I do this is just because it's easier to manage, and then the other pops that are of our culture group here, I would have probably left them on the Freeman civic right, and then I'll integrate them. I'll build grand theatres, and I'll put the assimilation policy on, and I'll assimilate them and turn them all into my primary culture, which will be Cretan. And of course, it's easier to do it because pops that are of your religion, or the same religion of you, luckily here these are, and pops that are the same culture group, they assimilate a lot faster. So remember that. I did speak about province loyalty, and this allows me to quickly talk about how this works. So basically, each province you have has a loyalty gauge here, and depending on various factors, you can gain loyalty and lose province loyalty. Now, on a quick side note here, you'll notice that the capital province is always loyal. The province where your capital is placed will always be loyal no matter what. You will not be able to lose any loyalty on that. However, if you had land over in different areas, let's say, I don't know, let's say over here, for example, I'll go and find another nation. This guy, this is the Phrygian kind of Antigonid kingdom, and his province of Lydia here, he is losing loyalty, and a lot of factors do depend, can condition the fact that it goes down. Governor corruption is a big one. Again, that's why you want to really be careful who you put in position of power in different regions, because governor corruption really hurts. The higher it is, the more unhappy, or the more the loyalty will go down. But the main factor of not having of losing loyalty, it's your unrest. Now, unrest is down here. Unrest is tied to pop happiness. The more unhappy the pops, the more unrest you make. The more unrest you make, the more loyalty the province is going to take. So that's basically a rule of thumb. So it's all tied together. Pop happiness is tied to unrest, which is tied to province loyalty. And when that province hits the 33% threshold, so every kind of disloyal threshold in the game, no matter being character loyalty or province loyalty, is 33. As soon as a province hits below that 33% loyalty, the province will be disloyal. And what happens then? You cannot build any buildings in the said province until the loyalty goes above 33. If the loyalty of a province goes to 0, you have a rebellion, and this is depending on the number of unhappy pops in the province. The rebellion, that can basically conditions the rebellion size. So the more unhappy pops you have in the province when it hits 0, then the bigger the rebellion size. But generally, the whole province kind of revolts up, and the number of pops that the rebellious province can raise depend on the number of unhappy pops in the province. So when it hits 0, you get a rebellion. So you do really want to avoid that at all costs. So that basically that. Now that's a quick kind of walk over that section. Again, I'm just kind of thinking on the top of my head here and trying to go through different things as I come along. I'll speak in the province loyalty, I suppose. I can quickly go through the different kind of sections here. Now, of course, you have the summary of the food that the province makes. So, of course, the cities tend to kind of consume food and not make any. Citizens, freemen, and noble pops, they really hit your food kind of hard. So you do want to kind of make sure that you have enough settlements that produce food to feed them. For instance, here, for example, you see Lapa here, it produces vegetables, and of course, because it produces vegetables, it kind of produces a lot of extra food, and we don't have a lot of citizens, nobles, and freemen that kind of eat up the food. So this is why you need to really make sure that you have enough food to feed your cities. Yeah, then you have the tax income of the said territory. So the tax income, as you know, it's the income of your slaves and freemen, and on that you add modifiers depending on trade routes, holy sites, inventions, and so forth. You have the number of manpower you make. You also have your research points that the territory makes, the loyalty of the province, how much it's going up, or the loyalty, or how much this territory is contributing to province loyalty. And this one is contributing by 0.01 to province loyalty due to the fact there's a little bit of unrest. But again, it doesn't matter here because it's our province capital, so it's always loyal. It would matter if it was another province in another region. And of course, there you have your unrest. Here you have the trade good that's produced. Now, a little tip for those who don't know, a city produces 2 base trade goods. A settlement only produces 1. Now, you can increase this number by moving a certain amount of slave pops to the said territory. Now, you can see here, if I hover my mouse cursor over it, in Lapa, for every 15 slave pops, I get an extra 1 vegetable. So you can manually move them around, and to do that, just kind of go into the pop category here, move pops, and then you can move your slaves around. You can only move slaves, you can't move citizens, you cannot move nobles, you can only move slaves. If you're a tribal, and this is different, so if you're playing as a tribal nation, you can manually move tribal pops. So that's a little tip for you guys. You have the culture of the territory, you have the pop output or the population output, how much like the kind of area outputs depending on a series of factors. So that's basically how productive the pops are. And you have the trade routes. So trade routes is the number. Trade routes are produced by citizens and nobles, so the more you have in the territory, then the more points you have in this thing here, this called trade routes. And then what happens for the province, you add them all together, and when you add them all together, you get trade routes from pop. So basically, if I added the 0.63 from Knossos there, plus the 0.03 from Lapa, plus the 0.24 from Kydonia, plus the 0.57 from Polarinia, I basically get one, or round about one here that kind of gets the extra trade route from pops. So there you go. That's how that works. So that's a quick kind of topography of that. Now we're going to actually continue on the game. And we're going to actually definitely declare war on this guy. But first, let's import something. We have an excess trade route, and we're definitely going to want to try and get surpluses in the capitals. You want as many surpluses as you can get in a capital. It really is quite useful. So as many as you can get, the better. So here we're going to go for... I mean, I don't really know what I want to go for here. I mean, stone is a good one to get because a surplus of stone reduces build cost by 10%. That is fairly useful. But here we can only import one extra trade route. I'd have to import two to get the bonus, and I can't do it. Unless I was to entice business investments, of course, and that will give me an extra trade route, which I might actually do at some point, to be honest. It could work for us. Get an extra set of gemstones, maybe. And we can get an extra set of gemstones, which would give us country Sieve Level plus 5%, which would increase this. Now, this is a good opportunity for me to talk about Sieve Level. Now, a Sieve Level is basically a measure of how civilized your territory is. The higher the Sieve Level, the more civilized pops are happy. So this basically affects noble, freemen, and citizens. The higher the Sieve Level, the happier those three types of pops are. It also has the added effect of increasing your pop output, migration attraction, which I will get to afterwards. I'll quickly talk about migration attraction, barbarian growth reduction, supply limit, and a load of other stuff. I'm actually going to quickly go through all of this for you guys. The only pop that it negatively affects is tribals. Now, tribals don't like civilization. They hate it, and it affects their happiness. So if you're a tribal nation, you don't want to have a very high civ value unless you are trying to reform your tribal nation into a more civilized one, but that is a topic for another video. All these different modifiers allows me to quickly talk to you about supply limit and migration attraction that I haven't really talked about just yet. So your supply limit is a measure of how many troops you can station in a territory without taking attrition. All you need to do for that is just click on your supply map mode here and then just hover your mouse cursor over the territory and you'll see a supply limit. It says 38 supply limit in the city of Knossos. If you wanted to see it another way, just click on the territory and there should be the supply limit indicated somewhere. I'm going to find it. I know it's somewhere down here. Maybe on the view pop info. No. Move pops. No, there was something. Where's it gone? I'm going to find it. I have to find it. There was a supply limit icon, but I can't find it. I can't remember where it's gone. But oh well, if you want to see your supply limit, just click on this, and then you can hover your mouse cursor over it, and it will tell you the supply limit. How do you know how much the army weighs in terms of supply limit? Well, what you do is you just raise... Oh crap, I can't raise your levies. What you do, you raise your levies, and then you hover your mouse cursor over the levies, and it'll tell you the supply limit of the army. If it's higher than the said supply limit that is kind of indicated in the territory, then you'll take attrition, and then you'll lose men per month. So that's how you find that out. The next thing I wanted to talk about quickly is migration. So you have two types of migration, incoming migration and outgoing migration. Incoming migration is you basically pulling pops into the said territory because they're moving there, and outgoing migration is pops leaving your territory to go somewhere else. Now, to see the migration, just click on View Pops Info, and you can see the incoming migration here, and you can also see the outgoing migration. Let me just find out where that is. It's somewhere. There's so many different things. I need to remember where it is. Where's the outgoing migration? I don't think we have any. Oh yeah, there you go. Outgoing migration is here, so it's just right in front of me. Incoming migration is there, outgoing migration is here. We don't have any outgoing migration, which is cool, but you can see we have a lot of incoming migration, and basically you have arrows that tell you where the pops are coming from. Now you'll notice we have one pop that's moving in from Lapa. Just hover your mouse cursor over the eye icon and it'll tell you where they're coming from. So if I was to move it here, where's Lapa? I need to find the one. Got to find where it is. No, it's not that one. God, it's quite finicky to actually find, but you can just tell where they're coming from. So, for example, I'll just click on Lap here. You can also see where they're coming from. You click the said territory, and then again you go to View Pops Info, and you can see outgoing migration. So there we go. So you have a Cretan citizen from here that's migrating to there. You can see it with the red arrow. So that's where you're leaving. Red arrows is outgoing migration. Green arrows incoming migration. So we have one Cretan citizen that's going to migrate to Knossos. It's going up at a rate of 0.27 per month. And when this bar fills up to 100%, that pop would have migrated. Now, you can increase this with a load of factors. You can change the policy of the area or the kind of province to centralize the pops, which is here. And this increases the pop migration speed of the pops in the territories that is not your capital of the province. So Knossos is my capital. Every single territory that is not the capital in this province that I own would have increased pop migration speed, which will then increase the speed at which the citizen migrates. You also have ruler corruption, which can influence it. The higher your corruption, then the quicker the migration speed. A number of ports in the province also help, which is quite interesting, and the fact if it's a coastal province or not, or coastal territory or not. The type of pop also conditions the speed, so you can see citizen migrating plus 0.6. So that's that. You also have the fact that it's a settlement that gives you minus 75% migration speed, so settlements pops are slower to migrate from settlements, but you can offset this with a particular building in settlements, which is the Provincial Legation, which offsets the minus 75% by giving you plus 75% pop migration speed. So it's quite useful if you want to quickly make sure that your pops want to migrate out, or if you want to get your pops out of a said settlement and into your cities. Now, the next thing you'll notice is if I go back onto the province capital here and show you my pops info and show for pop migration, you'll see that there's arrows from territories that we don't own. That's because pops can migrate through different borders. They don't have to be only from your nation. They can migrate from different areas, so they can migrate from other nations. So that's quite interesting to know. The amount of pops you pull, it really depends on your migration attraction. Migration attraction is located here, and it increases depending on a variety of factors. So ports increase it. The fact that it's your capital territory increases it. The civilization value, so coming back to the Sieve level, which is located over here, that conditions your migration attraction. You also have the holy sites, which do condition if you have a holy site in the territory. So there's a lot of other stuff, and the higher the migration attraction, then the more pops you're going to likely pull from other territories. So that's basically how that works. It also allows me to talk about something that I haven't really kind of touched just yet. If I go onto the View Pops info, it's cultural assimilation and religious conversion. Of course, in your territories, you can assimilate pops, which means you change pops to your primary culture. But please remember that you can only change the culture of pops that are not integrated. So, for example, if I go to my culture here, you can see this Carian pop is not an integrated pop. You can see the integrated cultures with the little kind of spider web thing here with people icons. I think that's what it is. That means it's an integrated culture. Since this Carian pop is not an integrated culture, this means that this pop can be assimilated, which means we can change this culture to Cretan over time. Just to see this, just go here, View Pops info, and you can see that we are currently turning the Cybele Carian Freeman is assimilating to become Cretan and is going at a rate of plus 0.52 per month. The speed of this depends on quite a few things. You can increase it depending on the governor policy you have. You have a governor policy which is called cultural assimilation, which increases the pop assimilation speed. You also have a building that helps with that. If you can unlock it, the Grand Theatre, it also increases pop assimilation speed. But remember, to unlock that particular building, you need a certain invention, and that invention is over here. It's in the oratory section, and it's called Gradual Economic Integration. And you unlock this by spending innovation points to get down there, and that gives you the Grand Theatre building, which will help you with the assimilation speed. And then you also have, go back to the pop info, religious conversion, same thing. You can religiously convert pops. This is any pops. The pop doesn't have to be not integrated. Integrated pops, you can religiously convert them. It's only integrated pops that you can't assimilate, because integrated pops, they're considered to be integrated into the realm. You give them certain rights, so then you let them practice their kind of cultural beliefs, if you wish. Religious, however, they don't have to be integrated, so keep that in mind. Again, the speed at which you convert them religiously depends on quite a few things. Just hover your mouse cursor over the bars to see what conditions it. But you can increase it with the policy. You've got a religious conversion policy, and same, you have a building, the Grand Temple, which allows you to increase pop conversion speed of a territory. And now remember, these are limited to only one per territory, the Grand Temple and Grand Theatre. You can't spam build them, they're limited to one. Again, to unlock the Grand Temple, you need a certain tech, and for that, just go to your inventions. It is in the religious section, and it's open religion, it's called, and you need that to be able to build the Great Temple building. So that is that for the pop section. I think I've gone through quite a few things on there. But again, it's going to be difficult for me to cover everything. I'm just trying to cover things as it comes along and as I think about it. I'm obviously going to miss things, so because it's just so much stuff to talk about. Anyway, now that is done, I think I can definitely focus on doing... Oh, here's your supply limit. Sorry, I knew there was some way you could see the supply limit of the territory, and if you click tactical here, and here you can see the supply limit as well, so you don't have to kind of go on this here and move it over there. You can collect the tactical section, and you can see your supply limit of the territory. Again, the supply limit depends on a load of things. It depends on your supply limit, it depends on if it's a port or not, if it's a capital territory, the civ value, the total population, a load of stuff. So the higher this value, the bigger the armies you can station in the territory without getting any attrition. Whew, we're going to get there. Anyway, let's import something now again. Let's go back to the trade, and I did want to import something, didn't I? So what I'm going to go for here is... I'm going to go for some stone. Okay, we'll get it from Luxor here. And what I'm going to then do is I'm going to entice business investments again. So now you'll notice that on top of the 72 PI that we pay, you have to pay 20 gold. This is because after each time you select one of these province investments, it will cost you PI, but then it will cost you 20 gold per time you click it. So this time it's going to cost us 20 gold on top of the 72 PI. Next time it would cost us 40 gold on top of the 72 PI, and so on. So you need to remember that. So here we're going to do another province investment here. Another entice business investments, which is going to be quite nice. And now we're going to get ready to go to war. This icon here, by the way, is for disloyal characters. It shows you who are disloyal. Now, this allows me to quickly talk about power base. I haven't really talked about power base just yet, and it's going to be a good time to talk about it. So power base is a degree of how much influence and power a dude has in the realm. A dude gains power base for being head of a family, for example, and if I have my mouse cursor here, you'll see that a lot of his power base is from the fact that he's head of a family. And this guy is head of the Zagreid family. So I go to the characters here, we'll sort by families. Zagreid here, and it's this dude, he's the head of the families. Head of each family automatically has a big power base. They automatically gain a massive amount because they control the family. These people, you don't want them to be peed off. Their power base is then increased depending on if they own any positions in government, if they have any holdings. I'll come on to holdings later on, I'll talk about them afterwards. But the higher their power base, the more influential they are in the realm. And if these people with high power base are peed off, then they can launch a civil war in your nation. Now, how does a civil war start? What happens? Well, basically, a civil war can fire if the percentage of a percentage of your kind of characters are disloyal with a sufficient power base. Now this is called your threshold. Okay. Now at the moment we have a 25% threshold for civil war. This means if our disloyal characters contribute 25% of the power base, then there's a ticking timer for a civil war. So at the moment we have a 20%, 20.26% of our power base that is disloyal due to the fact that this dude here is disloyal. So this is the head of the Zagreid family. If, for instance, I don't know, let's say another one of the main family members, like this guy here, this Agrid guy, he's loyal to me because he's got 49 loyalty. Remember, the threshold is 33. If this guy was disloyal, then we would have a ticking civil war timer because he would be added onto the disloyal people over here, and then the threshold would probably be up by another 20%, I'm guessing, which will bring it up to about 40 or even 50 odd, and that's when we've hit over the 25% threshold that we get the civil war timer. And what happens is, as long as the threshold, as long as your disloyal power base is over the said threshold, you will get that ticking timer for a civil war. I think it's 21 months. If you do not make the power base, the disloyal power base, loyal again and go below the threshold, then you have a civil war that will fire in 21 or 22 months. So it's important to keep these guys loyal. Now, the best way to get them loyal again, I'm just going to show you guys quickly. Just click on him. I like to do bribing. Bribing is fairly easy. You pay 5 political influence and pay 100 gold out of your own personal wealth. You need to make sure you have enough in your own kind of personal wealth coffers. Just click on your character and his personal wealth is here. He gains personal wealth from having governors, from having governorships, from having holdings and stuff. So you do want to make sure that these guys stay loyal. So just quickly do a bribe like this. You see, boom. He's now 44 loyalty, so he is above the 33 threshold for character disloyalty. And now if I went back to here, you'll see 0% of the total power base is disloyal. That's because the guy with the high power base is now loyal again. So you do really want to watch that. I was going to talk about something else to do with power base, and that's holdings. Now, holdings do give characters power base. You can hand out holdings to characters by right-clicking on them, and you can grant him a holding. I'm pretty sure... how do I do this again? Can I give you a holding? No, I need to go on the character section and right-click. Now, you have to have holdings to give, I know. I'm trying to kind of think at the same time here. Where are the holdings? Why can't I give anybody any holdings? Now, I can't give anyone any holdings. Okay, let's forget about that. Let's forget about that. I don't know why I can't. I'm going to have to think about that. But yeah, holdings, it gives, like, when you give characters holdings, they give you it gives them income, and it also increases their power base a little bit. But again, characters have power base if they have position in government. So if you give them officers, if you give them command of, like, legions, if you give them command of governorships, then it increases their power base. So you want to be careful with characters with high power base. You need to keep them loyal. Okay, now I've gone through that. What else can I go through? There's obviously going to be something that I'll remember as I play the game. Anyway, now let's get ready to go to war with you guys. I think I can take them on, to be honest. I've got a claim on them. They're not going to bring anyone over. I have our navy here that I'm going to bring in Knossos. I'll bring you there. I'm not going to declare the war yet, because if you guys remember, I can't raise them just yet. I need to wait till the 3rd of January in order to raise them, because you have to wait 4 months. And you have to wait 4 months in between raising levies, so that's why. So we'll wait a little bit. And then we'll take the war to Knossos, and then we'll wait and see what happens between Gortina and these guys here, and Arcades, and then we'll probably intervene depending on what happens. Now, what do I need in order to form Crete? Let's have a look again at our government. No, sorry, the nation overview. So all we need now is Gortina and this. So I need 2 extra territories, but that's easier said than done. So we're going to have to be... we've got a little bit of work to do. A little bit of work to do. But we'll do it. We'll be fine. I have confidence in our ability. Now, he's occupying that. He's occupying that. As soon as he occupies that, he's going to piece him out. Because if you occupy an enemy, if you occupy all this territory, you can piece him out automatically. You can just piece him out and take everything. On a side note, if you occupy every territory in the war that the enemy has, but he occupies one of your pieces of land, you cannot piece him out separately. You have to occupy everything, and he cannot occupy a piece of your land. That's how it works. But anyway, I can raise my levies now. Oh no, I can't. I need to wait till the... No, it's the 1st of March. Sorry, not 3rd of January. So I've got to wait till the 1st of March. So he's occupied that. He's going to piece out now. There you go. Told you so. He's pieced out. Who's got it? Oh, your Petra got it. Okay, so it's not Gortina. That's interesting. So he handed it to him. Now, maybe these guys aren't going to stay allied for longer, because they'll start being rivals. So maybe they will, like, kind of stop allying each other, which would allow us to allow us to pounce. But anyway, we'll wait till March, and then we'll take on Knossos quickly. I think we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely take on Knossos. So we've got the time is right. 3rd of March has passed. We've got an alliance breaking with Rhode now. Why? Do they want to kill me or something? No, they don't. Because they don't have too much opinion of us. So it doesn't matter. I'll let them break it. I honestly don't care about them. I don't need them anymore. I think we're powerful enough. Now we can raise our troops again. So I'm going to raise them up here. And again, remember, as you raise them, you lose research points. You lose faith. You lose tax. So you do want to be careful. It's going to really affect our research points. We should see at the end of the month. It's going to really affect it. Budding friendship. So, Kurnides, the first Sharid, and Timon and Ajid have spent the several weeks in deep debate on a number of issues they have strong feelings on. It's an event that allows us to become friends with somebody. Now, if this guy has a big power base, which I think he does, he has a massive power base, we're going to want to be friends with him. Again, you want to keep people with high power base on your side. We'll become friends with you, and this will increase his loyalty. When you're friend with someone, it increases his loyalty by 25, I think. Is it 25? It's 15, sorry. So it's 15. So now he's up to 63. He's got a big power base. He's really loyal. That is fantastic. Now let's see. At the end of the month, we'll see how much it affects our research efficiency. Oh, it's not affected it that much, actually. Of course, because we have more pops now anyway, we make more points, so it's not really that bad. When you're small, it really does affect you. Like, when you have one territory and then you raise your army, it really affects your research efficiency, since you only have one territory. Now, since we have a few, we're pretty much okay. But anyway, let's get the war going. I'm not going to bring in the other guys. We're just going to take Crete here again. Make sure you select the right war goal. Of course, when you're fighting for a war, you're declaring war for a province. It's a war goal. In order to get what they call a ticking war score, you need to occupy the province that you're declaring for. So if you occupy the province that you're declaring for, you gain the ticking war score, which increases your war score per month, ticking-wise, so each month you'll gain a little bit, because you occupy the said war goal. And as long as you occupy it, if you don't occupy it anymore, then you lose the ticking war score. So here we're going to declare war on Crete. He's got no friends, so declare war for Crete on Knossos. He's got no friends, so it's not going to be an issue. Here we're going to definitely pop you guys on the boat. Okay, pop you over there on the ship. We'll go and blockade him over here quickly. I don't think he's got a port, so it doesn't really... Yeah, we don't really blockade him. He's got no port. There's an Olympics here. Who am I going to send? I'll send this guy or this guy. Send the first guy, Magas. Again, to win the Olympics, you need like a decent amount of overall stats. The more overall stat he has in every category, then the better the chance you have of winning the Olympics. And when you win the Olympics, you get a nice boost of opinion to all Hellenic nations. Anyway, now we're going to go on here and occupy this quickly. We're going to get there first. He can't... I don't think he's going over there. No, he's not. A religious procession. So here we can either lose stability, gain omen power and religious tech investment, and lose state religious happiness, or we can gain a bit of stability and gain some loyalty. Now, if you gain extra omen power, that basically increases the strength of the omen you've activated. So if I chose that, my freeman happiness would go up a little bit more, as would my commerce income. But here I'm going to go for the stability a little bit, because I like being above 50. Above 50 you have nice modifiers, below it you have not so good ones, so that's why I've done that. A new ruler's been born, we have another sum. Now, you may notice that we now also have another trade route. We have 5 out of 6. Okay, that's because we finished our province investment here, and now you'll see it cost us 40 gold instead of 20, so it's 20 gold each time you bang on the province investment. Here we're going to import some stone, because the bonus to stone gives you a reduced cost in buildings. And of course, I have some building slots available, and I'm going to want to build some stuff, and buildings are really expensive. You can reduce the cost of your... of the buildings depending on your rule of finesse, so the higher your rule of finesse, the less the more reduction you get to build costs. So basically it's your finesse multiplied by 2. So it's got 5 finesse multiplied by 2, 10 minus 10% to the build cost. It also increases commerce income, which is useful. Each stat increases something, which is quite useful, to be honest. So if you want to see what they do, just go to the nation overview here, and you will see here what happens. You see what they do. So you can see that the military one increases manpower recovery speed and army morale recovery, finesse build cost reduction, commerce income, charisma, monthly tyranny reduction, claim fabrication speed increase, and the zeal, monthly work exhaustion, and a monthly stability change increase. Who called to arms? Rhodes has called us to arms. No, I can call Rhodes to arms, that's what that is. But I don't want to call them, I don't need them. What is my... I've got archers on the first side, and then I've got heavy infantry on the second. I'm going to reduce my flank size to 2. I don't want to have it too high. Are you not attacking me? No, he's not. So we're just going to wait here now. I'm going to wait. I'm going to take this. We'll quickly occupy it. Now, you can see my guess was right. This guy has basically stopped being buddies with Gortina, because they now consider themselves to be rivals. This is fantastic news for us, because now I can pick them off one by one, and I don't have to fight them together. So this is why really check alliances. If, for instance, these guys were still allied, I would have probably tried to go through the back door, which is through Rhodes. Now, Rhodes are allied with Imperator. If I wasn't allied with them, I'll declare war on Rhodes. It would only bring one of these guys in, because Gortina aren't allied to Rhodes, and that would only bring in Imperator, and it would just allow me to occupy this guy fairly easily, because I would have number advantage on him without having to worry about Gortina, which is why you need to really check the alliances, check them out, spend as much time as you want looking at the different alliances to find an easier way in. There is almost always an easy way. There's almost always a back door where you can bring in less people. Anyway, Olympic Games conclude. We didn't win, but that was something to be expected. Here we're just going to wait to siege this down, knock it down fairly easily, and then we need to probably focus on declaring war on someone else. Now, before I do anything else here, let's build some buildings. And this does allow me to go through quickly the building section here and let you guys know what each building does. So basically forts, it does what it says on the tin. It protects your territory from invaders, and they have to take the fort in order to take the territory. Now, a quick piece of advice on fort taking and territory. Forts, they basically... You need 2,000 men per fort level. So level 1 fort, you need 2,000 men to siege it. Level 2 fort, 4,000 men and so on. It goes up by 2,000 men each time. And what happens is, if you occupy the fort in a province, then you occupy the whole of the province. So basically, for example, let's say if I had, or if let's say if this guy here, Imperator, had a fort in China here, and I just occupied that, then the fort would then occupy all the other territories in the said province. You only need to occupy the forts to lock it down. If he has no forts, then just go and take the province capital, and then if you just take the province capital, it will occupy the whole province automatically. So it kind of limits micromanaging the sieges, so you can just send them, occupy the forts, and then once you lock down the forts, you lock down the province. It automatically then takes it all. So that's actually a pretty cool thing, and it does make sense because forts were kind of strategic strongholds used to control areas, and when you take them, well then of course you control the said area, which does really make sense. So that's that. The next thing we have is ports. Now, ports are pretty neat. You can have up to 5 level ports. There's level 1 port and up to level 5. As you go up each level, it increases pop capacity, ship recruit speed, migration attraction, and pop migration speed. Now, different level of ports are also needed for different types of ships. Now, you'll see that to build Tetrias here, you need at least a level 3 port. Same for this one. For the Octiers, you need a level 5 port and the required tradition, and same for this one. For the Megapolyreme, you need a level 5 port and the required tradition, so port levels are quite important. They're also just important really to help with migration attraction that we're talking about earlier on. Now, they do increase it quite nicely. As we said, it's plus 0.10 per migration attraction, so you can just, if you want a really kind of powerful province capital, which has a lot of power to pull different pops all over the place, increase the migration attraction and you'll be pulling pops left, right and centre from the different places. Next up we have aqueducts. This is in order to build, increase your pop capacity. Every city has a pop capacity here, I'll quickly talk about that. So here you can see we have 26 pops out of 49 available. If you go over the 49, if you go over the kind of pop capacity, you start having negative effects because you're overpopulating the place, so it affects Unrest, and then pops start to die of starvation. So that's what's that for. Aqueducts increase it by 4 per aqueduct built. Now, on a quick side note, you get an extra building slot for every 10 pops you have in the city. So every kind of 10 pops in the city, you get an extra building slot. So as soon as I hit 30, I would have access to an extra building slot, so I'll be on 8 maximum building slot. Okay? Now, aqueducts, you can only build them when you have a certain amount of civilization level, and it has to be at 30 civ level. You can't build aqueducts below 30 civ level, that's the threshold. Next up is your granary. This just increases the food storage you can have in here, and as well as a little bit of civilization level. Food storage is here. So basically at the moment we have 383 gold out of 600. The food is used by your armies to replenish their food stocks, of course, which are located here. So when you station them in a territory, they will take food out of the territory in order to replenish their overall stock. And it also affects pop growth. Now for pop growth, just quickly go over here to the pop capacity, view pops info, and you'll see pop growth. What conditions it is a lot is the years of food supply as well as the civ values. So the more food supply you have, then the quicker the increase. So that's that. Next, wow, my mouth is getting really dry. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Next are lives. That increases pop conversion speed a little bit and the civ level, and increases overall research points. The marketplace increases civ level, pop assimilation speed, and local based trade routes by 2.5%, so it'll increase this number by 2.5%. So use that when you have a lot of trade routes and you want to maximize and get some more. Again, I very rarely use it because you need to really have a lot of trade route points. I mean, you need to really fill your cities with citizens and nobles to make it worthwhile. Then you've got your training camp. Again, each building literally increases your civ level by 2%. Remember, if you build it, it increases it by here, increased it by 2%. But if you delete it, then of course it goes back down again. You lose the 2%. By the way, to delete a building, it's right-click on the icon, left-click to build it. So next year, the training camp increases your local manpower. The local manpower is down here. It increases that a little bit. The tax office, which I find is the worst building of the lot, increases your local tax level, which is this, by 10%. You need to really make a lot of tax in order for this to be worthwhile. I mean, 10% of 0.20 is 0.02. It's literally peanuts. So it's not worth it unless you have massive slave cities which make a lot of tax. It is pretty much worthless. So I really would not build them, and I would avoid building them when possible. Mills, they increase slave output, slave happiness, and the desired ratios. Now, these buildings at the bottom here, these four, these all are to do with pop ratio. Now, pop ratios, I quickly spoke about it previously, and these, every city and every territory, they have a desired ratio of pops. Now, the desired ratio is the bottom number, and the actual ratio is the top number. If your actual ratio is higher than the desired ratio, then the pops will either promote or demote to get the number down, thus increasing the other categories that's required. The plus icons are for the ones that don't have enough of the desired ratio, and the minus the ones that have too many. So basically, we have too many slaves. We're going to be demoting slaves till we hit 18% of the pops of this territory are slaves, and in the meantime, it will fill out the other categories, so it kind of evens it out. To increase the different ratios of pops in cities, these are what these four buildings are. So mills are for slaves, forum for freemen, court of law for citizens, and academies for nobles. It just basically increases the amount of pop types that you want. So if you wanted, for example, I don't know, a lot of slaves in your city, then you'll build quite a few of these mills. By the way, you can only build 3 of them per territory. There's a limit to 3 in each. If you wanted more slaves in the city, then you'll build 3 mills, and it would increase the amount of slave ratio here down in this section. It would increase it a little bit more, so we're 18%. If I was to build a mill, it would increase it by a further 10%, which means that instead of having an optimal ratio of 18%, it would go up to 28%, and that's how that works. Same for the other 3 building types. They just affect the different types of pops, so freemen, citizens, and nobles. As well as increasing the output here, the mill increases inside the ratio desired to slaves. It also increases the happiness and their output, as well as a little bit of Sieve Level. The forum does the same thing. It increases freeman happiness, and the ratio of them. Same for the court of law, and same for the academy. So just basically the same type of buildings, but for the different pop types. Grand theatres and great temples, we've talked about them quickly. They help with assimilation and conversion. Quite useful if you're in areas where you don't have the same religion as you, or it's a state religion, and the same culture as a state culture. Quite helpful for speeding things up. A foundry, you can only build 1 of these. Same as the theatre and temples here. You're limited to 1 in any given territory. You can't build any more than them. The others, the top ones here, you're not limited to a certain amount. So anything going from the aqueduct to the tax office, there's no limit. Ports, you can build 5, and forts, there's no limit. You can just build as many, but just remember to take into account the fort infrastructure capacity. You don't want to go over that. For info on the fort infrastructure capacity, I did a video on how to improve your economy in Imperator Rome. 10 tips, go and check it out. I explain it in detail. It's just going to save me a little bit of time here. And then finally we have the Foundry, so I was speaking, increases your pop output by 10%. It's pretty powerful, so especially in big cities where you have a lot of pops and you make a lot of resources, then that is going to be super needed. It also reduces the amount of slaves needed for surplus, so let's say here we need 20 slaves for additional wood. What it would do if I built this, it would reduce that amount by 4, so instead of having 20 slave pops, we would need 16 in order to get the additional wood. Couple the foundry with the mills, and you can have super producing slave cities, and then that's when you probably get your tax offices in. And then finally you have earthworks, and this is a pretty useful defensive building. It reduces pot capacity, but increases the local fort defense, increases enemy attrition, which means we'll lose more men while trying to siege down, and it also reduces combat width. So if you're outnumbered, it's quite helpful because it reduces the amount of men that can line up into a line. If you want an exact guide on how battles work and how the lines are in Imperator Rome, do go and check out the guide I made to land battles. I go through that in detail. Anyway, another thing taken care of. Let's get back to the war. Let's get back to... Oh no, I was going to build something. I was going to build a building. So let's go for... So depending on what you want to build... I like to build stuff that help with citizens and nobles. I'm a bit of a tech buff. I think that having an advantage in tech is super important. The more advantage you have, the more innovations you have, and the more powerful you are. And of course, the extra morale you get for each military tech level. You get 0.05, I think, per level. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Don't quote me on it. I think it's 0.05 per martial level. So if I went to martial level 3, I'd have an extra 0.05 to my morale of armies, which would put it up to 0.20. And morale of armies is super powerful, and that's why I like to build buildings to help get the most amount of tech points through nobles and citizens. And of course, doing that has the added effect of increasing your number of trade routes, which is super useful because the more trade routes you have, then the more gold. And of course, at the mid to late game, you would make a lot of your cash from trade. You would have load of trade routes, and they are the most profitable ways. So here we're going to go for a court of law. I've already got an academy for the nobles, so we'll do one of these to increase the desired ratio of citizens. So if I go to the view plot info here, and you'll see that at the moment our citizens, we have a desired ratio of 25%, but our actual ratio is 26, which means we're 1% over, which means we are actually demoting one of our citizens to a freeman to fill up the freeman ratios here. But if we do that, that means we're going to be losing a little bit of research points, because we would lose one citizen. I don't want to do that, so what we're going to do is we are going to build the Port of Law here. It's going to cost us a little bit of gold, but it's reduced with the stone we've imported, so that's quite useful. Let's get back to sieging. Okay, whew, God, there's so much to talk about. It's really hard, actually, when you don't script things, and you have to kind of talk at the top of your head. It's really damn tricky. Rhodes broke the alliance with us. I really don't care. Here we've got an event that does with people that don't like each other. Don't want to lose loyalty with him. Again, look at the power base of the people. Now, he's got, what, 42 power base. Now, here I could turn the cheek, and he would lose a bit of loyalty. Or we could make him a rival. Now, you don't want to make people a rival, because when you make them a rival, they lose opinion of you. I think it's a -15 modifier to opinion, so do be careful. So we're going to turn the other cheek here quickly, and we'll just lose a bit of loyalty with him. Again, if there's a problem, bribe people. Bribe, bribe, bribe. So look, here he is. This guy is peed off. We can bribe him, and however, we can't bribe him just yet, because we recently bribed, I forgot. So once you bribed him, you can't bribe him till a certain amount of time has gone by. I think it's like 5 years. I'm not entirely sure. But it doesn't matter. There's only one guy that is disloyal, and the threshold for civil war is... It's low. Look, we've got 80% of it disloyal. We need to have 25% to have the civil war timer tick. By the way, a quick side note. As you increase your power status, so if you go from local power to regional power to major power to great power, each time you go up, it reduces the civil war threshold, so the lower it is. So you've got to remember that. Now, let's keep going. So they've got supply shortage here. That's fine. We're going to easily take care of that. Definitely going to deal with these fellas after. I think I'll take on this guy, to be honest, first, because he's got no allies on this island. This guy, Gortina's got this guy to help, and he can probably raise at least 1,500 men, which is way too risky, so I don't want that. This guy can only raise probably 2,000, 2,500, I would say, maximum. And the others, his allies, are all over on the other side. And since we're like Rhodes is over there and this guy's over here, now since we have total naval supremacy, he is not going to be able to ferry any troops across. Now, in order to be very, very sure, I'm going to get 2 extra Liburnians here, just to get 16 ships, to make sure I outnumber them considerably. Gortina want access, not going to happen, buddy. Oh, have they got a civil war? Oh, they have got a civil war. So they got a little civil war, fine, which is good. That's going to keep them occupied for quite a while. And of course he can't siege it down. Now this is quite nice, because what's going to happen here is... Oh, I can easily destroy you now, bud. You've got no friends, and I can easily kill you and take you. That's even better than the other opportunity. Now, there's a little trick here, because this guy's got a level 1 fort level, right? You need 2,000 men to siege it down. Well, he's got 2,000 men. The problem is that as he's going to be sieging it down, he's going to be losing men due to attrition, starvation, disease, and he's going to be losing numbers over time. And as soon as it goes below 2,000, he can't siege it. And this is actually fantastic, because this is going to keep him blocked in an eternal civil war, which means we're then going to move in and completely smash the guy, which is going to be great. And of course, the best thing here is that the Gortinian revolt, the vassal is actually allied to the Gortinian revolt. So we're going to be able to move in on this guy and take him out as quickly as possible. So as soon as we finish this, we're going to get them back here, go over to Knossos, and we'll declare war on Gortina, and we'll take them out pretty quickly. Again, don't have many men, so I can easily beat him. He has, what, 2,000, 4,000 men? I have way more, so we're fine. So here, we've sacked it. Again, I'm going to let the looting be gentle. I don't want to kill the pops because they're our culture group, and I want to keep as many alive as possible. So, we're going to take this now. Thank you very much. Get 1 aggressive expansion, and the war score cost is 19. Now, on a little quick tip here, the amount of aggressive expansion it costs when you take territory depends if you have a claim or not. If you have a claim, it reduces it by 50%. The cost of aggressive, the war score cost depends on a variety of factors as well. It depends on the amount of pops you have, if you have a claim, if it's of the same religion or culture or not, and a load of other stuff. So that's quite important, so do pay attention to that. And here we're going to take that off them. So Praesos is now ours. We'll patch them on the families. We'll bring them in. They're our culture group, and it allows us to have more characters that we could potentially give to office. Now, I have another fort here that I don't need, so I'm going to get rid of it. It's too expensive. Again, remember that we have a limit to the number of forts we can. If you go over it, then, of course, it's going to cost you money. Now that is done, let's send you guys back over here, and we'll get ready to take on Gortina next. Well, yeah, you're good with, you're friends with me. Well, he's loyal, so he's going to join and help us. And now we're going to take this guy out. Easy. This is going to be easy. Now, what we're going to do to help Siege make this go up a bit quicker, we're going to send you over here, and I'm definitely going to siege him down. Like, blockade him and increase the siege timer, and it'll make it siege a little bit quicker. I'm going to bring in our buddy, and we're going to wipe you out, dude. So there we go. Again, this comes to what I was saying. Be careful on, how to put it, just kind of pay attention to when you're declaring and who to, and like work the alliances against each other. Let's see, I've got the right comp here. What tactic do I want to use? What tactic do I want to use? By the way, yeah, you have tactics, you have 5. You can unlock more through inventions. But each tactic is efficient against a certain other tactic and not efficient against another, so do pay attention to what tactic you choose. The effectiveness of a tactic depends on the type of units you have in the said army, so you want to be careful on that. What's he got here? I'm going to go bottleneck here. I'm going to guess he's going to go shock, so I'm going to go bottleneck. It's just a random guess because he's got a heavy infantry unit. So why would I lose this fight? I don't know I would lose it because you've got a better commander than me. Why would I lose? I don't think I would lose. I mean, I could actually keep smashing him until he has no men. I think that would work. Yeah, that would work for me. Let's see. I think I should be able to beat him. If I don't trust this, I mean, I have more men than him, so I should be flanking him. So I'm fairly confident that we can beat him. I just wish this guy would join. But I don't think has he joined? Yeah, he has joined, but he's not coming into the fight. I don't know why. Oh, he is now, so hopefully he'll get there in time. So anyway, I'm going to slow the game down to take a look. So here we're fighting him. We've got the wrong tactic. God, he went skirmishing. What an arsehole. Hopefully this guy's going to get there in time. Oh, we didn't even need to. See, we outnumber him considerably, so it is fine. This is why don't really pay attention to the battle predictor, because it's very rarely right. And if you kind of weigh up the pros and cons yourself, kind of go, I have more men. Okay, yes, that means I can flank him. And then, like, let's say you have better unit types and stuff, fighting him on certain terrain. Just kind of think about it. The battle predictor's not always right. I mean, they predicted a loss, but we still won it. Now, he's going to retreat on him, which means my friend is going to stack wipe him. There we go. See, he had nowhere else to retreat to. We retreated on him and he got stack wiped. Now we're blockading his port, which means we have an extra kind of bonus to the siege here, because if I didn't blockade it, we'll have -1 to the siege progress. Now we wait. And this is good because it's going to wipe out this guy, and then we'll wipe out this guy, and then we'll wipe him out, and we'll keep doing it that way. There's always ways in. There's always ways to, like, kind of enter a fight. There's always ways to enter a war. Just take your time and just consider all your options. There's always a way out of things. Always. Until there isn't, and then you're completely screwed. But there really is. There's always a way out of things. The game does seem complicated to all people that have only just kind of got into Paradox games. If you've played other Paradox titles, then you'll know just about how they work, so you'll kind of be less lost. But if you never played it before, it can be daunting, but honestly, if you spend a little bit of time thinking about it and kind of going through everything, honestly, it's not all that bad. Now, here we have another trade route, you can see. Now, we've lost one, but we had 6 trade routes, but now I have 7. This is because we have from pots +2, which means we've obviously promoted another citizen or noble somewhere, and we've got more trade routes somewhere, which means we've got another trade route going, which is fairly cool. So now I'm going to go for some extra stone again, just for the bonus, because we lost it. Now we're going to import something else. Now, grain gives us global food modifier, which is fairly nice, but I would like something to help with freeman happiness, or maybe noble happiness. Can I get papyrus? I've already got a surplus of papyrus. Cloth is a pretty good one. Dyes is also fairly nice. Do I have dyes? I don't. Let's get some dyes. Increases local noble happiness. So of course now the nobles are going to output a little bit more research points, more everything. We've nearly got another couple of tech levels, which I'm quite happy with. And everything is really going quite smoothly, I have to say. It really is. So now we'll take this. Of course, this is going to be a really good place for us, because there's a lot of pops here that we're going to be able to take. And of course, this is going to really condition the amount of levies we can raise. I'm also hope we can actually become a regional power at some point, so I can show you guys how legions work and how you pull levies out of your overall levy force in order to form the legions. So I do want to show you guys that. Negative 14%. Let's speed it up here now. Don't need to keep it too slow. Trying to speed it up. Also, don't hesitate to keep the game ticking at a slow pace. If it's going too fast for you, just slow it down and kind of take your time to look at everything. I mean, honestly, there's tooltips everywhere. Just hover your mouse cursor over everything, and you will literally gain a crap load of information and always be useful. This guy's building another fort. I know he's building one fort. Okay, he's got a level 1 fort there. He doesn't have one there yet. Interesting. Anyway, 7% here. This should fall pretty soon. 21% there. I'm going to guess maybe next month. Not this siege time, but next one. Oh no. 28. We've got a crap supply shortage. I'm going to let this guy come out to fight him so I can get his ships. We're going to capture them probably and get a couple of extra free units. So why not? It saves us building them. And the navy is useful. Definitely to transport stuff. Anyway, sack of the Tanina Shrine. Someone else has ransacked this. But I don't care who it is. Someone's destroyed the holy site in Aritin. Now, a little tip here. If you want to see where an event is, and it kind of gives you a location, you don't know where it is, there's a little island here. Just click on it and it'll take you to the location. It took me ages to find that out, but it's a lifesaver if you really want to know where something is. I will remember this crime. I don't really care about Fanatia. They can, like, screw themselves. They can literally screw themselves. Now, there we go. The Siege of Gortine has been won. Oh, no. What? It's finished? Why? Crap. I can't believe that. You gotta be kidding me. I think because I took it, it ended the revolt, or he ended the revolt somehow. How did that happen? Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull back. That's a shame. That's really annoying. Yeah, the Civil War, the end of the Civil War just then, that's why. Now I'm back here. Going to let this guy come back. What we'll do is, I will wait. Oh, he's got another levy here that's been raised. Oh, that is really annoying. I can't believe that. That's really, really a pain. Oh, well, it is what it is. It can't be helped. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to trying to get the guys to stand down quickly for a little while. And now you'll see we've got some extra units, which is quite nice. Of course, we've got more pops, so of course that helps. And now we have 2 heavy infantry units and a supply train. Now, supply trains are super useful. They increase your army's food storage, because if you don't have one with big armies, you're going to run out of food, no time, and then you suffer heavy attrition like crap. But now I have more than enough men to take this guy on. So what we'll do is we'll wait 4 months, and then I'll take him on again. I think I'll probably take this dude on next, to be honest. I think that's going to be the best thing to do. If we take on this guy, because he's got no friends over on Crete. Or do I take on Gortina? I could take him. Really, I've got enough men. I can easily take him. Especially with this guy helping us out. But the problem is that this guy's going to be a bit of a pain. You know what? No, we're going to take this guy. There's only one guy over here, and there's no one else on Crete that's going to help him. So we can easily knock him out. And these guys won't be able to ferry off any troops because I'm going to have my navy patrolling the area here to stop him from disembarking any reinforcements. Here we'll get more pops, of course, then we'll get more levies, and I can easily take them out, and we could probably split our levies into 2, and then, of course, we could then siege 2 down at the same time to stop them from forming together. But anyway, I'm going to end this episode here, people. Again, thank you so much for joining me. If it helped you in any shape or form, please don't hesitate to hit that like button down below. And if you want to see some more Imperator Rome content just like this, then please don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel for more. I hope this is helping you. Again, I'm probably missing some stuff out. I'm just basically explaining as I go along, whatever comes into my head. But I hope it helps you. I hope you learn a few things, and it kind of helps you newcomers out into the game, and hopefully get you into it, because honestly, this game, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's brilliant, and hopefully you guys will too, and this will help you. But anyway, again, thank you so much for being here, and I'll hopefully catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.